preparation.
Yes, sir.
Program is
Kulu, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are going to proceed with the valedictory function. And
Okay,
in this valedictory function, now Sir Rajshekhar sir will be the chief guest, and Navi sir and Mallikarjuna sir will be guest of honor. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, madam. On behalf of all the participants, I extend hearty welcome to Professor Dr. C. Rajshekhar, the chief guest of today's valedictory function, and also Dr. J. Mallikarjuna sir, Principal, KL Law College, Bengaluru, the guest of honor of today's valedictory function. Welcome to you, sir. Dear participants, it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our teacher and great academician, Professor Dr. C. Rajshekhar. Sir has completed his LLB and LLM degrees from University of Mysore with gold medal for first rank in Master of Law in the year 1983. Sir is a doctorate in law from Karnataka University, Dharwad in the year 2002. Sir has 34 years of teaching experience. Sir has 34 years of teaching and administrative experience. Served as a lecturer in JSS Law College, Mysore, Hurkadyaja Law College, Dharwad.
cut it short.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir has published many articles and he has organized and participated in more than 65 national and international seminars. Important positions held in the Karnataka University are Registrar Evaluation, Acting Registrar, In Charge Vice Chancellor, and Sir has guided 20 research scholars for PhD degrees and 3 research scholars for MPhil degrees. And Sir has published 4 books, Humanitization of Prisons in India, Indian Constitution, Social Revolution and Indian Constitution, and edited Indian Judiciary and Audit. And also published more than 25 research articles in the national and international journals. Sir organized and participated as resource persons in more than 65 national and international seminars, symposia, and workshops. With these words, I once again welcome the resource person and the chief guest of today's valedictory function, Dr. C. Rajshekhar sir. So I request the chief guest of today's function, Professor C. Rajshekhar sir, to express his views relating to the workshop.
Kulu, sir.
Over to you, sir.
Kulu, sir, before that, introduce and welcome Mallikarjuna sir also.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
That's fine.
So we have with us another the chief guest, the guest of honor,
As the
Dr.
host.
J. Mallikarjuna sir, the principal of KL Law College, Bengaluru. He has BA degree from Gulbarga University,
Hey,
BA
it's fine.
and LLB from Gulbarga University, in which he received a special award for securing highest marks. LLM from Karnataka University, Dharwad, in which he secured second rank. PhD under the guidance of Dr. K.R. Aitar from Karnataka University, Dharwad. He organized and coordinated various national, state level conferences, workshops, seminars, and moot court competitions. Served as a lecturer in S.C. Nandimat Law College, Bagalkot, B.V. Bellad Law College, Belgaum, V.S. Law College, Ballari, and also a member of Board of Studies, Bangalore University, Bengaluru. He was delivered several guest lectures at various law colleges, including National Law School of India, University of Bengaluru, participated and presented several papers on law topics at various national and international conferences, symposia, seminars, etc. He has published several articles in various reputed journals like Indian Bar Review, Cochin University Law Review. Sir has 2 decades of teaching experience in law. His areas of interest are jurisprudence, law of contract, interpretation of statute. A very good academicist. He always motivates all the faculty members to organize and conduct such kind of academic activities. With these few words, I heartily welcome Dr. J. Mallikarjuna, Principal, KL Law College, Bengaluru, to this valedictory function. Welcome to you, sir. I also welcome Dr. Sharda G. Patil, Principal, GK Law College, Hubballi, to preside over this kind of a valedictory function. So now I request the chief guest of today's program, Dr. C. Rajshekhar, sir, to address the participants.
The president of today's function, Dr. Sharda Patil, the 2 guests of honors, Vijay Shankar and Dr. Mallikarjuna. It gives me immense pleasure to participate in this valedictory function of your virtual workshop on cyber security and emerging data protection regulations in India. Actually, in the 3rd technical session, I ought to have presented I had made preparation for presentation also, but due to some technical snag, my laptop could not work, and I'm now using mobile, and I'm holding my mobile and participating because of the insistence of the principal and her staff. But anyway, I'm immensely happy. Actually, I remember the day when when I was the chairman of the Department of Law in Karnataka University. At the time, that was in I think 2004. We actually started the program in GK Law College only. See, for you, probably all of you know that in undergraduate courses, cyber law is not prescribed. But at the postgraduate level in LLM programs, it is introduced in Mysore, Karnataka, and some private universities also now have introduced cyber law. But what is interesting is that in undergraduate college, where cyber law is not taught, has been consistently, not one college actually, all the three law colleges of KLE, have consistently, continued the program. At the time, we had conducted one workshop. At the time, for the first time, we invited Vijay Shankar, and it will not be wrong on my part or exaggeration, not exaggeration on my part, if I say that it has been because of the keen interest shown by Vijay Shankar in promoting the cause of cyber technology, especially in the law colleges. The torch is still burning, and Professor Mallikarjunayya, Sharda Patil, and also Jaisima should be appreciated for still continuing with the program. They are offering cyber courses. I think secure certificate course they are offering, and by this type of course, it is possible for the law students and also even non-law students to know what is cyber law. We all know that cyber technology, no doubt, has immensely helped our society. Cyberspace, I was supposed to talk on legal issues in cyberspace, and we know how the internet, cyberspace, information technology have changed the world, how it functions. We can even divide our world history into pre-cyberspace and post-cyberspace, because cyberspace has influenced our life so much that we cannot imagine how we lived before the advent of this cyber technology. But it has also created a lot of problems. Due to cyber technology, the lawyers have a new headache. Lawyers have a new headache in the sense that it has created some new problems. For example, you take IPR protection. Because of the introduction of this information technology, we are having problem there. It has created a new variety of crimes, cyber crimes. It has actually threatened the right to privacy. The government is also not keen to protect the right to privacy, whereas so many countries, including UK, USA, they have passed laws long back to protect the right to privacy. But in India, including court, I don't know why there is so much diffidence in recognizing and protecting the right to privacy. Law students, especially the students of constitutional law, know that the battle to recognize right to privacy is a long-run battle. It was in 1965, for the first time in Karak Singh, this issue was raised. The Supreme Court said, no, you cannot read a right to privacy into Article 19(1)(a) and Article 21. Subsequently, in Govinda versus Madhya Pradesh, again there was an attempt for the recognition of the arguments or advanced before the Supreme Court for recognizing a right to privacy. and a limited right to privacy was recognized. But subsequently, in Rajgopal, Parthasarathi, PUCL, three cases, right to privacy was declared by the Supreme Court as a fundamental right implicit in Article 21. The problem is the correcting decision was a decision by a larger bench, but these intervening judgments were given by a smaller bench. So as a result, a right to privacy was not actually considered as implicit in Article 21. But the recent decision of the Supreme Court in Putsami in 2017, right to privacy has been recognized as a fundamental right, and now the government has woken up. So it wants to, enact a special law. See, well, I would like to highlight one issue that in UK, the Data Protection Act was passed in 1998 on the basis of the data protection directives of the European Union. Our act was passed in 2000, and yesterday, Navi rightly pointed out that the objective of this law was to promote the e-commerce, but nothing prevented the state to include provisions to protect the right to privacy, data protection, which is threatened by the application of the information technology. But after the Supreme Court has given this decision, it has woken up, and personal data protection bill is there. And already in 2011, certain rules were framed under the IT Act, wherein sensitive personal data was sought to be protected, but it is just a half-hearted attempt. What prevented the state to amend the Information Technology Act in the 2008 itself by including provisions for the protection of sensitive personal data? But better late than never. Now they are doing it, but still they are not that interested. It seems the bill has gone to the giant parliamentary committee. When the committee will complete its process and the law will come. So this is it. And I would like to congratulate especially Sri Vijay Shankarji for consistently supporting this cause of information technology and technology law. And our KLE law colleges have ably assisted Vijayanagar, Sri Vijay Shankar in pursuing this cause. I would like to congratulate Sharda Patil and Mallikarjun, and also Jaisimha, who are three stalwarts, dynamic principals. And Mallikarjuna is doing wonders in Bangalore Law College, I know. And as a teacher for all of them, I really feel very happy. And with this few remarks, I would close. And I once again thank Sharda Patil, Danish, and all others for giving me this opportunity and to participate as a guest in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words on this occasion, motivating all of us to conduct such kind of regular activities. Now I request the guest of honor of today's event, Dr. J. Mallikarjuna, sir, to speak on this occasion. Over to you, sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Most respected teacher, Dr. Rajshekhar, sir, Vijay Shankar, Madam Sharda, and your team, and all the viewers. At the outset, congratulations to all of you for having been part of this very important webinar to understand the nuances of data protection. Since yesterday, very interesting sessions you all have taken, and I'm sure it's a great learning experience for you, and you must have got wonderful insights into the subject. First of all, I once again congratulate GK Law College, because I personally know from 2006 till this day, GK Law College has been taking this initiative of creating awareness in cyber laws continuously forward. It included the conduct of webinars, seminars, and things like this, inclusive of the conduct of certificate courses in cyber law as well in the past. So I congratulate for continuing the legacy. And in the break room, I was discussing with Vijay Shankar sir. It was a nostalgic experience since yesterday for me, because I was recalling 2006 first seminar we held on cyber law. During those days, again, the IPS officer of those days, Mr. Dilip, who was also the graduate of National Law School, participated in the inaugural session. Our teacher, Dr. Rashekar sir, was there. Now Vijay Shankar was there, and the same thing is being repeated now. Yesterday, IPS officer was also there. So it was a nice experience to get together and try to learn the nuances of this important subject. I'm not an expert in the subject. However, the over-encompassing character of this subject will give little comfort to anyone to speak a few words about it. Hence, I thought I would be sharing few views on this aspect. Maybe it is a cliche if I say every technology comes with disadvantages, and so is the case with information technology. But what needs to be noted is the flip side of this technology. The dangers of the flip side of this technology are equally proportionate with the advantages this technology has brought in. This technology has made the ICT, information technology, this technology has made the life easy, commerce easy, trade easy, whatnot. When any such development takes place, when some regulation is required, of course, it is known to all of us that the regulation comes through law. When any field needs to be regulated, there we speak of law, regulation, strategies, and the policies. While the policy is a goal to be attained, policy speaks of a goal to be attained. Strategy speaks of a step that is used to reach that goal. Yet, policy and strategies are unenforceable, whereas the laws and regulations are enforceable, right? That being the case, the inputs that we get from such webinars would go a long way in shaping the law. And when we, apart from, in fact, in this session, we were, curious to hear about the legal regulation of cyberspace. And thanks to Professor Rashekar sir, despite the inconveniences, last minute inconveniences, again with respect to technology, he joined us. And when he joined, he said he is not so technology friendly or technology efficient. I would rather say, and that's not the case. And I appreciate, like all the teaching community during COVID times stood up to the demands of the time and did their best in ensuring the continuity in learning of students. My teacher today, though at the last minute, through his mobile phone, comes on screen and does his best to enthuse us and support us. Hence, I thank him. Though I divulged a bit about what I was talking about, to recognize the sincere attempt of my teacher, which inspired us continuously. I was talking about this legal regulation, and when it comes to legal regulation of cyberspace, the first thing we do is we talk about what is cyberspace. Anyway, don't be curious to listen from me. What are the definitions of cyberspace? I'm not going to talk about it. I would only say, as a layman, since as I already made out my case that this technology applies to everybody, every time, on all activities, apart from the technical definitions, I mean the technical definitions of cyberspace apart, which sphere of life is not are touched by technology today. All spheres of life is touched by technology today. Probably, I was talking about the interrelationship between policy and strategies. While the globalization was a policy, ICT worked as a strategy in realizing the goal of globalization is what I envisage. So ICT has played such vital role. ICT, that is information technology, was responsible in soon reaping the fruits of globalized policy. Of course, there are arguments against globalization. I'll not deliberate on them now. Yet, globalization has brought many bigger things to many countries, and the realization of globalization at a faster pace was possible through information technology, is what I would argue at this time. Having so argued, and to come back, since technology encompasses all spheres of our life, keeping the technical definitions of cyberspace apart, I think every time we get into activity, the activity that we are into today, right now, also belongs to the cyberspace, and cyberspace needs to be regulated. One of the examples, if I may recall to you, is in Karnataka, we are hearing about in Bangalore, the riots that have happened 2 days ago at KG Halli. And we are hearing the news that one single Facebook post by a allegedly as claimed arguably innocent boy called Vinith, his one post in the Facebook has caused such a havoc and such a crime situation and so on. So I mean to say, every activity that we get into today is touched by cyberspace, needs regulation. That is the importance of understanding this cyberspace and the legal regulation of it. And as much as you have learned in these 2 days, try to sharpen your knowledge and skills on these aspects, and find a promising career in this area, and find a secured way to live in cyberspaces. Always we are in cyberspace. If not, you are going to be a professional in cybersecurity. At least to live in this cyberspace, to live in this world is to live in this cyberspace. At least let us live securely by taking the lessons from this webinar. I think with these inputs and my views on this occasion, I once again congratulate the college for organizing this program, and thank all the resource persons who participated since yesterday. I have a pious responsibility to thank, because we initiate in now. I am a host along with Sharda. Hence, I take the responsibility of thanking all the resource persons who participated since yesterday and contributed. And last but not the least, I have been seeing since yesterday, the number is never going below 300.
Activities. Thank you, sir. Now I request another guest of honor of today's event, Sri Vijay Shankar Navi sir, to present his views on this occasion. Over to you, sir. Vijay Shankar Navi sir.
Thank you, friends, particularly Rajshekhar and Ms. Mallikarjun and Sharda and others. First of all, I was happy to be back in the KLE family to continue what we did earlier. In fact, on the privacy itself, 2006, we had a major event in Bangalore, which the then Minister Suresh Kumar had attended. That was when the first version of a privacy bill had been presented in the parliament. So there was a gap because that bill didn't get passed, and now we are working again. In between, of course, I've been in touch with the KLE people. One unfulfilled dream is still there about the ODR facility, which I have sometimes discussed with Mallikarjun. So probably there is another area where we have to collaborate. That is online dispute resolution mechanism. But anyway, for the time being, we will focus on this Personal Data Protection Act. as Dr. Rajshekhar was telling, there has been difficulty for the government to get this bill passed, basically because the balancing of the interests of privacy activists on the one hand, the commercial interests on the other hand, and the government, which requires some kind of exemptions for itself. These three kind of agencies which are together working for this has not been easy. So that is why most of the earlier versions of the bill did not get through. Only this time we feel that because of the Puttaswamy judgment and the pressures on the international scale, this personal data protection bill could at least be expected to be passed. The Joint Parliamentary Committee has been holding already the consultation meetings with a number of people. FDPPI was fortunate to be invited for that. We have made our presentation there also. So probably it will take another 1 month or so for the consultation committee to complete. And we are expecting that by the December session, this act will become a reality. But of course, once the act is passed, then the question of compliance by different organizations will be a matter of concern, because the IT companies will very easily get into it because they are having the resources. But the other government departments, including educational institutions, they all come under the provisions of this Personal Data Protection Act, including trusts and NGOs. And I feel that they are the persons who are going to have the toughest challenge. So probably KLE has to start looking at right now in your whole setup of 265 institutions, where you have the minors' data on the one hand, to the professionals' data in the law colleges, engineering colleges. You have a huge number of personal data elements for years, okay, which from the educational point of view, you have to keep for a long time also. So as a complete, so you can say, network of institutions, you will have a very, very huge responsibility for personal data protection regulation. In fact, this is one of the reasons why many of the companies are happy if it is deferred for more time, because they are not ready. So I have been advising people, don't wait for the act to get passed, but start getting ready from today, because anyway, understanding this act and implementing it takes a long time. So probably this education, what we are trying to do, which in FDPPI we have called this as a Jnana Jyoti program. That is where we associate with other organizations and try to spread this knowledge, is the first step. And I'm sure that there have been a lot of other colleges who have participated in this when I see the chat box. So they will have to take the cue from here and see that all academic institutions actually participate with people like us, FDPPI, who are you can say, we are a non-profit organization only, but still working very closely with the industry. So we have to come together to ensure that this knowledge is spread far and wide. More than that, the students who are coming out of the colleges now, and with who in another 3 or 4 or 5 years will be in the corporate sector in good positions, they are initiated into the privacy as early as possible, at least as a concept, not that they will become experts when they take the LLB degree or something like that, but at least that there is a law. Like Information Technology Act, even after 20 years, we are still treating as if it is something new in the education system, and we are still holding on to certificate programs and not brought it directly into the curriculum. I hope this PDPB will not take 20 years for it to percolate, and in that aspect, I feel that KLE educational institutions should take a leadership role on an all India basis and become the champion of personal data protection bill, which will become an act. Simultaneously, the laws are there in other countries. So students would like to know, because ultimately career opportunities are coming up in data protection, and the so-called designation like data protection officer is a coveted position which many of the legal people would like to occupy, but they need a little bit of technology inputs. I hope this will be the beginning of that kind of a revolution, and I hope I will be able to work along with the KLE institution and see that this particular dream is made to be achieved within a short time. So with that, I would like to say that my thanks are due to all the people who organized this and given an opportunity for me personally and also the Foundation of Data Protection Professionals to be part of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for being with us throughout this 2 days workshop. Your inspiring words will motivate all the participants and organizers to conduct such kind of activities. Thank you very much, sir. Now it is the time to move towards the thanks function. I request Srimati Kavita Belagari, lecturer, to propose vote of thanks on this occasion.
Good afternoon to everyone. Respected dignitaries, principal, staff member, and dear participants. It's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks on the occasion of 2 days virtual national workshop on cybersecurity and emerging data protection regulations in India. I deem it a great of honor and privilege to propose to render a heartfelt thank to Chief Guest for today's function, valedictory function, Dr. C. Rajshekhar, former Dean, Faculty of Law, Karnataka University, Dharwad, who has kindly consented to be a resource person in a technical session 3 and also to be a chief guest in this valedictory function. Sir, a very heartfelt thank to you for inspiring all of us with the valuable words. I also extend my sincere thanks to Dr. J. M. Mallikarjuna, sir, Principal, KLE Societies Law College, Bangalore, and also Dr. Vijay Shankar Navi, sir, for gracing the occasion as a guest of honor. Thank you, sir. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by our beloved principal and president of valedictory program, Dr. Sharda G. Patil, who have been constant support and guiding us for organizing this workshop. Thank you, ma'am. I also express my sincere thanks to the dignitaries and resource person of yesterday's sessions. Thank you, sir. I also thank Dr. Basaraj Anami, sir, organizing chair and principal of KLE Institute of Technology, Hubli, for guiding us and providing a technical support to conduct this workshop. Thank you, sir. I extend my sincere thanks to the co-convener and faculty coordinator of this workshop, Dr. Yariswamy, sir, Dr. Sharad Joshi, sir, Dr. D.P. Chori, sir, and also Dr. S.M. Hullur for cooperation and organizing this event. Thank you, sir. And last but not the least, I thank all the participants who are actively participated in this workshop across the nation and also even from the out of the nation. Thank you, all the participants. And also I thank all our dear students, faculty members of our sister institution for their support and cooperation for conducting this workshop. Thank you. And last but not the least, I thank each and every person who has helped us to conduct this workshop effectively and successfully. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Navi sir. Thank you, Mallikarjuna sir. Rajshekhar sir, thank you so much for your insightful addresses and encouragement that you have given to me, especially personally. We'll talk to you over phone once again. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.